What's good, everyone? Welcome to the Clearly Distorted podcast. This is the podcast about clearly thought out ideas shared through our distorted lens. I am Damien, joined by Julian and the one and only Patricia.
What's up, peoples?
What's going on, guys?
Nothing much. Another day. I'm not going to say another dollar, but you know, another day in the life of Americans. And Patricia, you're an American too, I guess.
That's a sore topic.
We're starting
another day in the life of Julian. Then it sounded too much like
Puertorriqueña. Excuse me. Espérate un momentito. I'm Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican. American, right?
No.
That's what you guys fight about, right?
We're only American when we want to be, so
right.
fuck off with that.
We are only
fuck
American
off with that.
when we want that dollar.
Exactly.
We're not American when it comes to like being taxed.
I don't identify as being American, by the way.
I do.
I mean, who does though? Really?
I do.
Really?
I mean,
like
you
say
Damon,
I'm.
Damon, you identify with being Floridian.
Fuck you.
And Julian, I don't know, were you raised in New York?
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a New Yorican. So straight up I identify as American. I'm Puerto Rican, but if somebody if I go to another country and they ask me, I'm American. Depends on the country. If it's like some country that really hates us, oh no, Boricua. That's what I'm gonna be saying. But yeah,
you know what's weird about that though is when I've been in other countries and they ask me where I'm from, I don't say America.
You say New York.
If I was in New York, if I was living in New York, or I say Florida, where I live in Florida.
See, but that's kind of a dumb response.
Floridian?
It's not dumb. It's kind of I was gonna say obnoxious, but that's not really the right word. I expect them to know every fucking 50 states in the United States. Like it's pretty shitty.
It's also a little bit cocky, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely.
And
but not intentionally.
Oh, what country are you from?
You don't know, Florida.
I'm from Florida.
Well, no, if they say country, then I would say, but they usually don't say it. Just ask you
where you're from.
Yeah. Where are you from? From New York.
I say Puerto Rico. I mean, because that's where I'm from.
I mean, New York is the capital of the world, so I don't give a fuck. Everybody knows New York.
No, about that.
Good point. It is, Patricia. Let's not get crazy.
New York is boring. I said it. Yes, I said it. Let's
not get crazy.
Tell me, what is there in New York besides Times Square?
New York is a trendsetter of the world. So period. In the story.
You're looking at like places to visit and shit like that. Nah, it's the heartbeat of the fucking world.
I think that's what Americans think.
No. When people outside of America think about America, they think about New York
because of the movies.
Really?
Of the movie, I think so.
Okay. I guess they just think everyone's like Peter Parker and shit, like Spider-Man or something. Like, no, of course not. It's not just because of the movies.
Is it King Kong?
The movies is a representation of life.
God.
Not the other way around.
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to Google this and see if there's a survey out there, but I don't think so. I mean, I think that there's other... I would want to see someone in, I don't know, let's see, in Europe say, oh yeah, New York is where it is the capital of the world. They might say Paris or Milan or whatever.
If I was in China and someone asked me, where am I from? And I said, Idaho, would they know what continent that was on?
Hell no.
But if I say New York,
unless they love potatoes and they get their potatoes from
Idaho. A lot of Americans, they would be like, Idaho? What is that? Isn't that a potato?
Yeah, this is true.
They'd be like, fuck you, you a hoe.
Idaho. No, you the hoe.
Like, are you speaking Native American?
Yeah, like Patricia, even like if you walk around in Turkey and you'd be like, Puerto Rico, but you say New York, and they're all gonna be like, "Oh, New York,
Guaranteed.
we get it, yeah."
Guaranteed.
No, it is super famous, but I'm saying, what is there besides Times Square?
I don't understand that. Like,
yeah, I don't get the question. You talk about like tourist spots? Like, what are you asking?
Nothing to do in New York. There's nothing to see in New York.
museums, Central Park.
That's all over the world, by the way. That's
the
all over the
Statue
world.
of Liberty.
There's only
Oh my
one
God.
Broadway.
Broadway.
Well, Broadway, yeah. Statue of Liberty. We might just
Apollo
change the subject.
Theater.
Ellis Island.
This is not worldly. This is not worldly. This is stuff that American people, and with
Patricia,
love. But who knows the Apollo Theater all over the world? Tell me.
I don't know how many times I've been in the city, and at every corner I turn, there are people wearing shirts. They're all from Brazil. Oh, these people are all from Japan. Those people are all from China. Like every time I've gone to the city in New York, Times Square in particular, or Museum of Natural History, or whatever, I see people from all over the world, everywhere, all the time.
Of course, it's a humongous touristic spot.
I'm saying
so
that
is Disney.
What you just said doesn't hold any weight because it's not just Americans. What I see is a very mixed global communities in New York.
Okay, if you go to New York City, if you go to Times Square, yes, everybody knows the Statue of Liberty, of course. Everybody knows Central Park, Rockefeller Center. Well, I'm not going to say everybody, but it's something that's very popular. But outside of that, you're not going to tell me that people around the world know the Apollo Theater.
All right, so let me ask you: if you go to, but you know the Bronx too, and yet you're not from there. But anyway, so
I'm from the U.S.
If you go,
wait, hold on. I'm from the U.S. and I'm Puerto Rican. I know a lot of Puerto Ricans that were from New York, so I know from association. But you're not gonna tell me that people all over the world know about that. They know when they think about New York, they think of like Times Square. Outside of Times Square, what is New York known for?
On New Year's Eve, everyone's watching the ball drop in New York City.
Where? Where?
Around the world.
Where is the ball dropping? But where is the ball dropping at?
What does that matter?
Well, you can't separate Times Square from New York.
It's New York. What are you talking about?
I'm saying, what else is there besides Times Square? The ball drops in Times Square. Yes. Patricia.
So King Kong is iconic all over the world, right? Everybody knows what King Kong is. Mm-hmm. And King Kong is New York, basically. You think when you have the image of Kong, you have him climbing the Empire State Building.
Right.
Empire State Building, Manhattan.
So at the beginning of this conversation, I said, yeah, people know New York because of the movies, because of
which is it? Is it the movies or Times Square?
But it's what are the movies made at? It's usually in Times Square. What else is out there?
Did you know that in the 80s that they made
I was born in 1980, so I would know.
Okay. Oh my gosh, she is real testy today. So in the 80s, they had this huge balloon that they made, and they put it on the Empire State Building. It was a balloon of King Kong. And I remember from my grandmother's building, I used to be able to see the skyline. I used to be able to see Yankee Stadium and then also see the skyline to Manhattan. And I would always see that King Kong thing when it was there. Iconic. Worldwide.
I'm not saying that it isn't, but also you're viewing it from an American point of view as well.
All right. Hey, what's the most popular music in the world?
It's very simple.
It's pretty easy.
Reggaeton.
No, it's not.
It's hip hop, right? And where is hip hop from?
New York City.
Who's the most popular sports figure in the world or of all time?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Where's he from?
New York City.
Chicago Bulls.
No, he's not from Chicago Bulls. The
That's
Chicago
what he
Bull
was known for.
it didn't come out of the Chicago Bulls vagina. He came out of New York. Came out of
He
Brooklyn.
came out of New York's vagina. Where is it? I'm sure the
Yes.
vagina's in Times Square.
New
because
York-
it's the only
New
thing
York
it's known
is-
for.
New York is the vagina of the earth. It's the world's pussy, and that's what everything comes out of, and it's beautiful.
Never heard it put like that, but it's factual. It's
I think we
factual.
should move on to the next topic. The earth's pussy, ladies and gentlemen,
New York
vagina. Is
Please
New
don't
York.
say, please don't say New York City, because New York City, I know that I'm going to step on a lot of toes, but when you go to New York City and you walk around New York City, it is dirty and it smells like pee.
Vagina, the earth's vagina. Central Park is, I don't know if we use this word anymore. It's the bush. Anyway.
Well, you do have Bushwick.
And we have Bushwick. Dame, do you concur?
Signing off.
All right, let's go. What a way to start.
I don't even like, where do you go from here? Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. All right, so last week we had talked about TikTok a little bit and how they were the FCC, the chairman of the FCC, I don't remember, recommending to ban TikTok in America. And so we wanted to look into it a little more to see, you know, why and what was the difference here and TikTok in other countries, and found some interesting shit. In China, kids under 14 years old are limited to 40 minutes per day on TikTok. Just shuts down. Timer, boom, your day's done. The things they see on TikTok are science experiments, museum exhibits, educational videos, patriotic videos, and shit like that.
The world's vagina.
We all know world's vagina. We all know what TikTok looks like in America. And so the thought behind that is obviously they're aware of how influential social media is, and they're taking full advantage of it, feeding us the bullshit, feeding their kids, you know, raw vegetables and shit like that, and we're getting canned peas.
Well, so I have some issues with some of that stuff with China. So I like the idea of putting time limits on, because they do it with video games too, with video games and certain things, but I think that should be up to the parents. I think that should be an optional feature.
Yeah.
But I don't think that the government should be regulating that, but that's their country. That's what they're doing. As far as the content, again, force feeding people's specific content, I can see how some people would have issues with that. I don't have an issue with it at all. I think that there should be some avenues for silliness and stupid dances and toxic shit or whatever, and TikTok could be that. I just think that it's become so big that there needs to be more of a balance. So although I'm not in favor of the government force feeding companies to produce certain kind of content or show.
There was a survey done amongst the Chinese children and American children as what their career aspirations were. And the number one answer in China was astronaut, and the number one answer in America was social media influencer.
So while I'm opposed to some of that, you know, the government kind of controlling everything, there is something there that makes that seem a little bit more understandable, if that makes sense.
Well, just to be clear, what's restricted is for the younger kids. The shit that we see, adults there and older ages are able to watch those. Matter of fact, all of the dance videos that are popular here are most popular amongst 60-year-olds and older in China.
Well, then what about how far does that go? You know, at that point, like, do they state that like when you say children, what are the ages?
14. This is
14 and under.
Yeah.
I don't really have a problem with it. If I'm really thinking about it, if it's 14 and under, I don't have too much of a problem with it. I know people here, it's like, oh, freedom, censorship, no way, don't want it. But I kind of like that.
I agree. I mean, we have things like that. It's just, movies are rated PG-13. We have, music that is, parental discretion advised. You have to be 18 to purchase the music. So I think social media needs to be
monitored,
regulated,
controlled.
I don't have an issue with controlling what young children see.
I would agree,
Are
because
exposed to.
I had a debate with my daughter a couple of years back, and it was about when Little Nas X was kind of blowing up, and same thing, Cardi B with her WAP video and all of that. I say, a lot of the videos and a lot of the things I see, I don't care what anyone says, they're geared towards kids. The color saturation, the way they dress, there's a lot of things that aim towards kids, and those are marketing techniques employs to get that audience. And I do take issue with that. I don't mind if a rapper or if a TikToker or anybody is making adult content or content more suitable for adult. It doesn't have to be explicit, like the Earth's vagina and stuff like that. But even if it's like something that's not educational at all, I do think that adults should be able to consume as much of that as they want. But we know that a lot of the aim is definitely towards kids. And I think if there was some way in social media where they restricted those sort of, filtered out some of those things so that way kids don't have access to it, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Nickelodeon Awards. It's adult content geared towards kids. What is her name? Nicki Minaj, or the other one, Cardi B, and Little Nas X. These are for kids. I mean, I'm 42, and I really don't know a lot of people that are really blasting Cardi B besides younger girls.
Right. I know that that's
her music is adult content. I wanted to say that because we kind of touched on it on the last episode, I was talking to my sister, we were talking about it, and she had said that there's a comedian named Andrew Schultz, and I didn't look it up, but she said that there was a comedian named Andrew Schultz, that he's the one in one of his stand-up comedy shows that started the rumor about the TikTok in China, and it just went from there. Like then they started repeating the rumor, but that no one has confirmed if that's true or not.
Yeah, it's confirmed.
It hasn't been confirmed, okay? Because apparently he's the one that started it, so maybe that kind of got the ball rolling, and then it was confirmed. But
I don't normally find myself standing on the same side as Andrew Schultz, but it's not made up.
So just to be clear, I think we all agree, right? Like if they're like 14 and under, there should be certain filters that. What about the time limit? You think if they're flooding educational videos, you think there should be time limits?
I still think so, yeah, because how often do you see kids playing outside and like doing,
definitely there should be a time limit.
I'm not one of these people who think I don't value time outside like other people. Like this idea, kids need to play outside. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, they don't have to.
But that's because of the way you were raised.
I was raised outside.
Well,
it was a combination of both. I spent a lot of outside time. I didn't grow up in my living room only. Like,
for me, being inside was punishment.
In fact, for a couple of years, I grew up near Pelham Parkway. So I was always out in the park playing. So I don't buy that at all.
A lot of things that you would have not been able to learn if you were just sitting at home.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely right. I learned a lot of shit out there that I probably wouldn't have. It was more fun, definitely, being a little 13-year-old peeping Tom than it was trying to steal HBO or Cinemax at night, you know? We used to like move the antenna a little bit, or we used to put like a little piece of paper or a hanger on the TV to try to get the Cinemax HBO signal.
Little
Was it
aluminum
Cinemax
foil.
the one that was like after hours? It was just like porno or
Yes.
whatever.
Actually, you know what it was? It was a channel in New York called I remember called WHT. Do you remember that?
No.
WHT, that was like at the time the competitor to HBO. And man, every night I was getting a titty show there. Like it was crazy. Yeah. But anyway.
Yo, for me, as a kid in New York, the Benny Hill show used to come on at night.
Benny Hill. Yeah.
And it was crazy because like that shit was on TV, but there was nudity in that show.
It was edgy.
There was a lot of it was suggestive, but
right.
You know, every once in a while,
very sexist.
Yeah,
like my grandmother used to love that fucking Benny Hill. My grandmother, like I would catch my little Puerto Rican grandmother who didn't speak any English watching Benny Hill like constantly.
When I was growing up, before we got cable, we had like 5 channels. So I grew up watching Walter Mercado and El Chavo del Ocho. So I don't know about this Benny Hill. I didn't know about Little House on the Prairie. I didn't know any of that until we got cable. Until we got cable, and then I was, I started watching the American shows.
You were too busy outside. You were too busy outside.
I was too busy outside. Yes.
Right. And
not looking at anybody's window.
I just think it's important to have a balance. I don't put so much value on, especially nowadays with the violence and shit going on. I'm not too concerned if kids are hanging out in the street. Like, give them something to actually do. Open up parks, rec centers.
I just think you learn certain
things
social
like that.
skills that way.
That's what you got school for.
No.
So you guys think that just hanging out in the street is just where it's at?
I don't mean like you standing on a corner, like posted up, like.
Okay, but when parents say, "Oh, the kids don't go out," like when you watch Stranger Things and shit, like that's how it was in the 80s. Kids just went outside, got on their bike, and their parents didn't know what the fuck was happening. I know that because that's how I grew up.
Right? That's us right now. That's me right now. That's my kids right now.
Right. And then 80s was also a horrific time for serial killers and fucking kids being kidnapped. There was missing children signs everywhere, and milk cartons and shit.
Where
like
you live, I don't. My child.
They put it on milk cartons. Like it was on milk cartons. Like it's not depending on where you live. Like all over the damn country, there were fucking milk cartons of missing kids. Like,
but that's depending on where you live. I didn't have missing people on my milk cartons. We had tres monjitas leche, 3 cows.
You know what we do, right? As adults, right? We tend to romanticize our childhood, and we tend to only think of like certain positive aspects. Like how many times you've heard, "I used to get my ass whooped. My mom used to hit me with a switch." That's no good. That's not nothing to brag about. Getting your ass kicked by your parent. But we romanticize this shit, but we're all fucked up. This world is fucked up because of us. Like, what are we talking about here?
I don't know about all of that, bro. Like, you would go to the park to play basketball. Maybe your friends were punished. You didn't have anything to do, right? You pick up your ball, you go to the fucking park by yourself. And there's a chance you don't know anybody at the park. I could comfortably go to the park and just start talking to someone. What's up? Who got next? Like, let's go.
That's creepy today.
A lot of kids today don't even have the confidence or the ability.
So that's why you have all these kids committing suicide. They cannot take
because they can't go outside.
No, because they're not going and developing skills, social skills, nothing.
No. Okay, wait a minute. We're convoluting things. So I'm not saying that we trade going outside for cell phone culture or, awkward incels, behind their computer. I'm not talking about that, but I'm saying we overvalue certain things based on nostalgic principles. That's all that is.
I think that's just depending on the childhood. I really
I
do.
think there
I
should be
really
a
do.
balance. I don't,
I mean,
yeah,
of course, with everything. It seems like you had more of a not so positive childhood, maybe where you were living or where you grew up. Because
no, I had
uh-huh,
I didn't know any better where,
yeah.
so to me, everything was great. And I had great
Mhm.
times growing up in New York. Like I didn't, I saw some shit and things happen, but for the most part, the neighborhood was very communal. For the most part, you knew your neighbors, you knew your fam, your fam was always over, and um, I have fun playing outside and all of that stuff. But I dodged a lot of bullets as a child, as a
Yeah.
young person. Things that I think,
Figuratively and literally.
yeah, like I don't think that it's, even if you live in a really nice neighborhood and everything seems to be great on the exterior, it doesn't mean that you just say, "Hey, Johnny, go outside and I'll see you later on." Like I don't, I've never understood that whole concept.
Well, right now, my kids play outside and I'm not watching them. My son goes outside and he literally, he's 10, he'll be 11 in February. And I see him literally playing cops and robbers with his other friends. And that, I don't even think that happens in the US. Or he's climbing a tree and I
It,
tell them go
It
outside and
it happens.
it's not like you just setting your kid free. Like
yeah.
it's a progressive thing. You teach them responsibility. You teach them what to look out for. You teach them what to do and what not to do. Then you let them in the front yard. Then you let them outside the gate. And then you let them down to the
Yeah.
corner. And then
And then
eventually,
and then he's
see
fucking
you.
hooked.
I'll see you for dinner.
He's sleeping with
That's me
hookers
right
on
now. Like right
like down the
now,
block. Like, come on, like
just come home before the
it-
street lights.
yeah, I guess
well,
teen pregnancy has never been a problem because like,
oh
come
God, but you have to
on.
talk to your kids. Like right now, over the summer, right
Yes.
now, school started. School started, so it's different. But over the summer, my son will leave and my girls will go to the park and I don't worry about them. And my son knows, they come back for water to get something to eat. And then I tell all the kids here know that when the azan, the prayer time comes at night, everybody has to come inside.
Okay, so
And
Patricia, so I would agree you have to talk to your kids, right? Like for sure.
yeah.
I grew up in a pretty open household. We can talk about anything, like no subject was taboo in my house. And I implement a lot of that parenting in my own, with my own kids, but the majority of people that I've seen, including myself, like it didn't matter what my parents were saying. If I was gonna get a shot at hitting it, I'm doing it. Like it wasn't like my mother and father, a little angel and devil, popped up on my shoulder and said, "Don't do that." Like I got into trouble. I did some shit, as do most kids.
But you're supposed to get in trouble. Like that, you're supposed to fuck
Mhm,
up and you're supposed to learn those lessons. Like you got to be
mhm.
exposed to shit to make bad decisions. And most
To make bad
people,
decisions. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you learn from your bad decisions.
No, that's not what you said, but yeah.
You make bad decisions and then you learn
Mhm.
from those
From your
bad decisions.
mistakes.
But you have to have that opportunity. You have to be exposed to shit to fuck up.
You definitely have to have that. That's why I said balance. But I'm not just one. I'm not of the thought process like, hey, go outside. It's just like you were saying, like you will go outside, and if your friends weren't there, it would force you to make other friends. No, when I would go outside and my friends weren't allowed out, they were punished. I'd be like, yo, Papo's mom is a bitch. Like I wasn't like, it wasn't teaching me shit. It was just making me pissed off, like, I don't know. Maybe I got it.
He's like Cartman from South Park. Kyle's mom's a bitch.
A big fat bitch, whatever. You ever seen that skit, Dame?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Because you looked a little lost there. Yeah.
I mean, I was familiar with that scene, but I never really watched the show.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I made a lot of bad decisions when I was a kid.
Right. But you lucky you got out of it. Some people didn't.
I did not. I didn't. I never, I was talking about this with my husband the other day. I have never in my life smoked a cigarette. I have never in my life smoked weed, done crack, shoot up heroin.
But-
I've never done any of that.
I don't know.
Right,
know.
but that's you lucked out. But there are plenty of kids.
Hold on one second, Damien. Hold on one second, Julian. Damien, what do you mean you don't know and you're saying it like that? Like you think I'm lying?
No.
Well, you had that smirk.
I don't know where you're going with this. I don't.
Where am I going? Where am I going?
I just said I don't know where you're going with this.
Oh, I thought you said I know where you're going.
Oh no.
So I was a good kid.
No, I'm saying, but
Which explains your early adult.
Oh no, exposed.
Anyway.
Anyway, yeah. Moving on. I don't want anyone to get it twisted and think that I'm not for kids going outside. I think if you could get your kid involved in, basketball, baseball, going out and playing. If they're in the track or if, sports activities and stuff, something productive for them to do. Discovering nature and
or just
all
roaming
of
the
that.
streets.
No. But
listen, man,
I think
there's lessons to be learned everywhere.
It's just, what it is? It's just, in my opinion, there are too many predators in this world. There are people who want to get kids to buy drugs and kidnap them and sex. And I'm just not down for I don't care where you at, whether you're in Turkey, New York, Puerto Rico, there's always going to be some fuck out there who's, going to try to be a predator to your child.
But that's always been, and it's always going to be.
Don't think it's a risk worth taking, but that's just me.
Can't hide the kids from the world, man.
So you would rather
didn't say that.
Didn't say that. Have your kids just be inside the house all the time. I
didn't say that either. You guys are twisting the narrative, and that's typical, right? That's an unfair debate. That's a straw man shit. I didn't say the what they should be doing is sitting in a room by themselves, jerking off in front of. Like I didn't say that. All I said was
we know what he was doing.
There should be a balance. A little bit of both, some positive activities. You just can't just send your kids outside to play. That's the narrative that I hear. Oh, kids, they're on their phones and they don't do it. They play their games. Go outside. Like, no, give them something to go outside for.
The people that are saying all their kids do is sit inside and play games, there is no balance there, is what they're saying.
No, absolutely.
I had a Nintendo as a kid and I barely played the fucking thing.
I was talking to my son about that. Yeah. We played for a little bit.
I played the Nintendo like when it was raining outside or like everybody was punished. Like there wasn't anything else to do.
Okay, but did that make you better?
That made him.
Yeah, I think so.
Now.
You think so? So you would have been a worse person if you played Nintendo more. Like that's what you're saying.
No, see, now you want to talk about people twisting people's words.
I'm asking you.
What I'm saying is when kids grow up and they leave your house at whatever age that is, right? They got to be able to function in this world. They have to be able to be comfortable in a room with people and be able to navigate themselves.
Why?
Because they are going to
because it makes you feel better that people are fucking comfortable around you. There are people who spend a lot of time outside as kids and they're introverts. I'm
an introvert and an extrovert. I'm both.
That's an oxymoron. That's a contradiction, not an oxymoron.
Anyway, a contradiction.
You're both like what do you mean?
It matters my mood. Like I think most people would say I'm a sociable. What?
Dame, you say you go both ways. You say you go both ways, so I'm trying to figure out
which way do you go. Which way are you going today? Are you innie or outie?
Wow. Yeah.
Are you a receiver?
What?
Anyway, he likes to go outside. So yeah. Anyway, what were you saying, man? My bad. We got totally sidetracked here.
It just depends on the environment and my mood. But I could be one of the most sociable people in the room, or I could be in the corner just watching everybody and not saying a word. It just depends on,
Yeah, I think if you're an introvert and you're not comfortable with socializing, why is that frowned upon?
But it's not frowned upon.
I
But
think that-
you
I
can't to be successful in this world, you have to be able to interact with people.
Says who?
Says you have to go to work. You have to go to work. Why? What?
Why do we have to conform ourselves to societal norms from what the loudest motherfuckers have to say? If you're a loudmouth and you're an extrovert and you want to just, hi, my name is whatever, and you got every fucking person you know.
You're going with extremes.
I don't know. You could be successful and not have to deal with people.
Give me an example.
What do you mean?
An example of someone who does not deal with people and is successful.
A mortician.
A scientist.
Even they have to deal with people.
They have groups. They have teams.
I'm not saying that the skill, what you're talking about, of being someone who's extroverted or approaches people and can carry small talk conversations and all of that, that's not a required skill for success. Not in every single field.
I don't think that we're saying that every kid has to go outside no matter what and spend 6 hours a day, whether they want to or not. I think what we're saying is that nowadays, with everything that's happening, like, kids are not even patient. You know why they're not patient? Because they're in front of a phone, flipping through a 15-second video on TikTok. They don't have patience. They don't know how to deal with anything.
I agree.
That comes from sitting in front of a computer or in front of a phone. They're just tunnel vision right now.
I agree that there's way too much of that. I have major issues with phones and social media and all of that stuff. But even in the 80s, before all of that was a thing, right? If you were a gamer, well, and you went outside and you played with your friends, but you also collected baseball cards or basketball cards. You also played games. You also played Dungeons and Dragons or whatever the hell nerdy shit you did. What would they say about you? Oh, you're a fucking fag, or oh, that.
I've never.
That's
Dungeons and Dragons, maybe. Yeah, you were weird if you played.
Come on, like the
weird.
way kids used to talk to each other back in the day was
not true.
Horrible. It's not true.
I don't remember that. If you played video games,
you yourself, you yourself have said, we've talked about it like over and over. How did you handle your beefs when you were young? Through physical violence. You punch some kid in the face or whatever. That's not how we should be doing things now. That's not how we should have been doing things ever. That's how we grew up. We grew up with that, but that's not how you handle stuff. So you telling me kids were learning valuable lessons? No, they were being entitled little shits.
It's
the Karens
definitely a valuable lesson in getting punched in your face.
The Karens you see running around today
probably never got punched in their face.
People our age
who never got punched in their face.
Are people our age. So really, or maybe they were punched in the face a little bit too much.
No. Had they got punched in the face once, they would know I better think about what the fuck I'm about to say before I say it, or whose face I'm about to get into. They were never punched in their face, and that's why they feel so bold to just walk up to people and be all in their fucking business.
So I have to agree 100% with what Damien is saying.
So toxic males, toxic females, that sort of behavior, right? That came from what?
All I'm saying is there's a lesson to be learned in getting punched in your face.
That came primarily from what generation and what thought process? Ours.
I don't know about that.
Maybe before.
It's true. What most of these cops that be shooting people for no reason, they're in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s.
Well, that shit was been going on since there was before television existed.
The politicians that we have, what are they? They're also 50s, 60s, like they're old. Like a lot of all I'm saying is a lot of the new stuff that we say is so shitty and horrible and how off they are. There's some truth to that. I complain about it all the time, but we're kind of a fucked up generation, and we're doing fucked up things today because of the way we were raised. Let's not romanticize everything about how we grew up, is what I'm saying.
know. I think that as generations go, they're getting better and better. I don't think our generation is fucked up. I think the previous generation was fucked up.
Dame, do you concur?
It depends on how you look at it, because I think there's areas where what
I'm just sitting back listening. Go ahead.
I think there are areas in this current generation where they've exceeded or are succeeding. There's other parts of the generation in different aspects where they're just way the fuck far behind. And
I'll say one more thing.
I think if they were able to marriage the two,
that's what I'm saying.
Fucking limits.
That's all I'm saying. A little bit more balance, but I'll say this, and then I think I'm not going to say anything else.
I think everybody in Generation Z should get punched in the face.
I've never gotten punched in the face.
Patricia, I don't even believe that. I don't even believe that.
I'm trying to think.
Is that a judgment?
I bet your sister is watching this right now, and she's naming all the times you got punched in the face or smacked. I guarantee it.
Wow.
Wait, Damien. She's never even seen me get hit.
Okay.
Well, my mom slapped me once.
Well, that's one time.
Yeah, but I've never been punched in the face.
It's an experience I think every human being should have at least once.
I've been punched in the back of my head. That was an experience, but
Do you want to share?
no,
Okay.
because it doesn't relate to this topic.
Oh, okay. I'll just say this. I think it doesn't matter what generation you come from. I think for the most part, the youth is always ignored. Their grievances, the things that they're going through. Adults tend to be hypercritical of younger people, and I've been guilty of it, where I'm comparing my generation to theirs, when I have to look at myself and look at my generation and realize that we've caused a lot of damage, not to only to society, but to the kids we're criticizing. So I think just to keep it 100% real, let's stop romanticizing certain generations. I'm guilty of it. And let's just be a little bit honest. Maybe we'll solve more problems.
I'm not anti-video games, by the way. Or maybe I am.
Yeah, you are. You
know, it just reminded me of something. The worst ass whooping and the most embarrassing moment of my life had to do with video games.
That's why you scarred. What happened?
90% of the time that I got punished, it was because I came home late. Ass whooped, punished, or something in school.
Exactly what I'm fucking talking about. Go ahead.
So
you troublemaking little shit. Go ahead.
No, I've never made trouble. I just always got mixed up in it. I never, ever, ever made trouble.
That sounds like what the troublemakers say all the time.
I've never.
This one night, you know, I don't remember how old I was, maybe 8 or 9, something like that. You got to be home before dark, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was these 2 kids that lived on my block, but up at the top of the block. And both of their parents worked all the time. They were never home. So the kids weren't allowed to ever come outside, but they had every video game, every console. They had everything that could entertain them inside the house. So one day I just went to hang out with them. I went to the house to play video games with them and completely lost track of time and just happened to look out the window and notice it was dark. And in a full fucking panic, I just jumped up and ran outside. It was on my way to run home because I already knew I was in trouble. I already knew it was the end of the world was coming. And when I ran out the house, the whole street was lit up with police car lights. Every neighbor was out in the sidewalks, and my mom happened to be right there. And literally, and she's gonna watch this, and she'll probably. Actually, I think this is the one time she beat me that she acknowledges. Every other ass whooping is a figment of my imagination. But she carried me down the street, my feet off the ground. She carried me down the street by one arm, whipping my ass with the other arm in front of the cops and the whole entire fucking neighborhood. Because I was playing video games. Had I been outside, I would have known what time it was.
That's it. So you're scarred. That's That explain, Dame, man, we just had a fucking huge breakthrough here.
I don't know.
Why do parents do that? My mom swears up and down that she never beat me. When she would tell me,
Yes.
go get a switch outside, and then she would whoop my ass with a switch, with a belt, with a hanger. She doesn't have a recollection of anything.
Because it hurt them more than it hurt us.
Get the hell out of here. No, it did
Your
not.
mom never told you that? This hurts me more than it hurts you. You'll
No,
understand one day.
No, my parents never said that.
Sorry, Ma. I just, yeah, I love you.
Ah, that's very nice, Dame.
She knows it. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a real this wasn't intended, this conversation, but it really is interesting. I don't know how we went from TikTok to this, but yeah.
Moral of the story: play your video games and then go outside and get punched in the face and have balance in your life.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying. You know, and go to your friend's house, play some video games, be late, and get your ass kicked by your moms. That's exactly how it should be.
Listening to you guys speak about your childhood and, you know, all that stuff makes me really realize how good of a kid I was. I mean, I am.
That sounds so fucked up the way you just said that. I realize how great I am just listening to how shitty you two are.
You guys are really fucked up.
You know what's sick about this? The sickest part is I'm not acknowledging anything wrong with how I grew up or anything. Like, I don't feel like anything is bad, but when I hear other people respond to some of the things I say, they're like, oh, that's so fucked up. But I don't think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it is either. Honestly, like, I think I gained a pretty good set of tools that allowed me to survive and make it through a lot of shit that was tough.
Patricia, you're a tough cookie too. Where do you get your toughness from? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, if we're getting personal, I think it was because I grew up without a dad, maybe. Just knowing that I had, and I knew my dad, I know my dad, and he lived up when my mom and my dad separated, he was living across the street from us, and he didn't care to have any kids. So maybe this is where I got my attitude, just because I developed, you know, this sarcasm, and I was just like, oh, if he doesn't give a shit about me, nobody gives a shit about me. So I've always had that attitude, and I think it's daddy issues, actually.
That is powerful. Yeah.
That's my coping mechanism. Either I will punch you in the face or I will joke in the most inappropriate times.
Right. That's your shield.
Sounds like the Patriano.
Yeah, for sure.
Huh?
I said that sounds like the Patriano.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on.
But
Next
I'm
topic.
the one that will be laughing uncontrollably in a funeral. That would be me.
Yeah, I've met a few of those people, and they should get punched in the face, those people. So yeah.
Oh,
or in the back of the head. Pick your poison. Anyway, Patricia, I'm not condoning any violence towards you.
Hey,
Anyway.
I welcome violence, just not in the face.
Let's keep this good, right? All right, next topic. Moving on. What's up? What we got next, Dame?
The fucking midterm elections.
Oh God.
The red ripple, the red drizzle, the red whimper. What?
It wasn't a wave. That shit was more like like a
Circle.
A ripple.
A ripple.
A ripple.
The red ripple.
The red ripple.
Mm-hmm. So as we were talking, the media, we were talking about this recently, media responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And
a few times, actually.
Right. And polls. I think polls are outdated. I think polls are skewed.
Yeah.
They're very skewed.
Definitely.
I think they don't account for a lot of the people who do turn out and vote. I think it's just a real flawed system that we need to not rely on as much. It's great, I think, for sample sizes in certain areas, but to come out and say that there was this huge red wave, and maybe the polls were reflecting that correctly. I'm contradicting myself, but maybe it did, and maybe that scared a lot of people into going out and actually voting. And that's what prevented this. I don't think that was the case. I think abortion had a lot to do with this. I think the direction the country is going had a lot to do with this. And I think the media just focused on certain polling and certain aspects, and they weren't responsible in their reporting. And I think that's why the Republicans are standing back, and they got the asses handed to them in many cases. And this is where we're at.
Yeah. Because there was, if you watched the news, you were led to believe that abortion wasn't a big topic. It didn't matter. You would hear that the Latinos were population that were Democrats were leaving and turning Republican. You would hear all of this stuff, and the actual results turned out to be the opposite.
As of the time of this recording, Mark Kelly defeats Blake Master in Arizona Senate race.
Yes, I saw that.
And in that particular race, it was really close, just like the ones we have in Georgia and Nevada as well. Then we are at 50, right?
Right. And then this still leaves the runoff. And from what I've seen, but
we wouldn't necessarily even need to win that, because the tiebreaker would be Kamala Harris.
Correct.
On a vote. But it would be nice to have it.
It would be nice to have it, because then you only have to deal with one of those two dipshits when you're trying to get shit passed.
So this red wave was just, it's a joke. And I think we need to stop relying on, what I like better? What I like better is when they show all the different districts in the state and compare it to previous elections to see how that's changed. I wish we would focus more on that before elections. I think that's a better data point. So let's say if that your district is a purple district, right? Sometimes it goes red, sometimes it's blue. The importance of where you're at and what that means for this election. I think that's the kind of thing that we should see more in the media. There should be more focus on that, because the data is there. They have it. They have those cute little maps and shit that they show. And instead, they pull up these polls and they have people debate about how shitty the Democratic message is and, what Donald Trump is doing. So media responsibility, I think it comes down to it.
I've heard two interesting takes on the never arriving red wave, both from Republican sides. One was that Trump is the one who stopped it from happening.
Where he ruined it because all of the candidates he endorsed? Is that it?
Just his involvement in forcing people to jump aboard, jump on his, he endorses someone, then you're expected to carry his message.
Right.
And that probably had its impact. And then I wish I could remember the names. I'm horrible with the names, but there is a district in New York State that is always Democrat, and it was held by a Democrat is responsible for the fundraising, who just lost, and he was beaten by a Republican. And this guy was saying that he thinks, because the Republicans took that seat in New York, and I think he said 11 other seats in New York, 11 other districts in New York. I could be wrong with that number. But he said that the Democrats were the reason why that happened, because they tried to play the gerrymander game, changing the districts to favor them, and then courts got involved and appointed someone to redistrict it, and then the redistricting fell more in the favor of the Republicans, I guess, somehow. And so had they not tried to play the game and left it the way it was, that they probably would have maintained those seats in New York and then would have maintained the House.
Yeah, I hate the whole gerrymandering. I hate it. I think it's I don't even understand how this is allowed. It dates back to civil rights and all of this stuff, and I just don't understand how this continues to be a practice in this country, and why every Democrat who's ever been elected president and everyone in the House and everyone in the Senate and every governor and mayor and everywhere else hasn't turned around and said this needs to stop and actually, put forth effort and stop it. So I just want to say one last thing. How the hell is that race in Georgia so damn close?
Oh.
Who votes for Herschel Walker? I don't care if you're a Republican. What idiot, let alone millions of them. How does this happen? I don't understand.
Because I think you said it once before, or I believe I got this term from you anyway, but it's like tribalism. And
yes.
It's sad and it's scary, because I would bet most of these people would consider themselves to be patriotic Americans, but they're voting. I don't care who it is, what party they're from. If you're voting for someone like Herschel Walker, then you're not voting for American interests. You're voting for your own personal interests in your party. And that's not American, in my opinion. That's ridiculous. He contradicts literally everything that they claim are their principles.
Everything. I mean,
and the only reason they stood him up there is because they want to parade a black man around and say, oh, there's black Republicans and, black people support your own, because, in Georgia, it's a large black population there.
But he's also going up against another black man. So,
right.
In Warnock. So it just, none of it makes sense to me. I think
it makes sense.
It doesn't make sense, because the majority of the people who are voting for Walker are white. They're not black. Right. They use him to move the needle a little bit for the black vote. That's the only reason why he's probably even where he's at. But the majority of the people who are voting for him are white, obviously are probably far right, and have no principles whatsoever.
I don't even think they need to be far right. I just think people are voting.
Just put an R on your name.
Yeah. I don't think
so. Being as
that's disgusting, man. That's
as lefty as I am. If I just got up there and criticized Democrats all day, I had an R on my name, I might have a shot too.
Yeah.
Just lie about everything.
I could never bring myself to do something like that. I know you and I were talking about it, and there was a point where going back to the last presidential election, there was a small time frame where it was looking like Bloomberg was the guy, and I was done. I wasn't going to vote at all, because in my book, he's the Democratic version of Trump. He's the same person, piece of shit to me. So I would have never voted for that person. I would have stayed home that day.
I can't bring myself to do that. Yeah. I'm going to vote for somebody. But yeah, I get what you're saying though.
What I'm saying is, had he become the candidate, had he become the Democratic candidate, there's no way I would have showed up to vote that day.
I see. That would have been a disaster. And you're right. But I still would have voted for him over Trump. But I totally get what you're saying.
They're the same person.
They're not, but
they're the same person.
They're not.
To me, they are.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, tangents. So there were some positive things that came out of this. Well, let's just say, as we, from the time we started, I just saw that the House has been turned by a slim margin, which probably would work out. It's probably the best case scenario for Democrats losing the House, because they are now going to have to deal with, when you have those slim margins, then every vote becomes massively important. And so these people are going to be trying to get their own agendas taken care of. And there's going to be, they're going to be fighting amongst each other to get shit passed.
See, I don't know if I see it that way, because I feel like the House, especially right-wing leaning members of the House, it's a shit show. We have some real psychotic members of the House.
But that's what I'm saying. So to be fair, there's not a lot of them.
There's enough. There's enough of them, and even on the left, we have some.
Yeah.
Just.
But there's 435 of them in total. So the point is those 1 and 2 of those 5 nut shows, they're going to take advantage of the opportunity, because that every one vote really matters that much more, because it's such a slim margin.
They're going to get nothing done.
Right.
Yeah, nothing.
Right. So that's kind of my take on that. Looks like the Democrats will maintain the Senate and maybe even pick up one. I think Warnock is going to win the runoff just like before, because I mean, you look at the independents in Georgia run pretty strong. It's not normal you see an independent with 2% or more.
You have what is it, Chase Oliver, who's a Libertarian Party, got 2% of the vote, so that's going to be eliminated on a runoff. So where are those votes going to go?
I think they're going to go towards Warnock. That's pretty much what happened in the last runoff.
Well, I hope so, because that guy, Herschel Walker, I couldn't understand. I still don't understand how anyone votes for that guy.
What I don't understand is why they still have this 50+1 law. Like, it's them and one other state that does that shit. Like, just whoever has the most wins. What's with adding all of these extra?
I think because Republicans constantly perpetuate the idea of voter fraud, and we're always going to have these controversies on close races, especially now. Part of the platform and what Donald Trump, a lot of the candidates he supported, they all come out and say that the election was rigged against Donald Trump. So that's now part of the platform.
Yeah, but I mean, this law has been in place in Georgia long before Donald Trump was even born.
But it ain't going anywhere.
It's I don't know. I guess they like they really like elections so much that they just want to keep having them. I don't know. It's crazy, but.
And what is it with why are these elections always such of a pain in the ass to count and get these numbers in? Some states, the numbers come in, they're in. Other states, it's like days and days and days, and
because they have different procedures in different states, and some states allow mail-in ballots to come in later than other states, and so they're going to be counted at the last minute. The way we do things in 2022 in the country that's supposed to be the greatest country in the world is just so antiquated and ass backwards. Like, why don't we have a uniformed voting system?
Right. Why isn't it just based on the popular vote and that's it? Because that's really all that should matter.
I don't even want to get into the details of what it would be, but why isn't it all the same?
Because states' rights.
But this is
because they're statewide issues, even though it does affect the entire country, but your state representatives should be voted for by the state and regulated by the state. That's the reasoning. That's why they do it. I don't agree with it, but that's why.
I just think there should be one election process, and that's it.
And it should just be the popular vote. That's it.
I mean, that's my personal opinion, yeah. But what it is to me really doesn't even matter beyond it all being unified. Like, it needs to be one system and everyone is held.
Yeah, but if the system is total shit and it's unified, that's not a solution either. Like,
yeah, I do think it should be popular vote. We want to talk about antiquated shit. We're getting like way off topic, but the electoral college is the biggest joke of any election process we have. Well,
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And that goes hand in hand with we should just go by the popular vote, and that's it.
Agreed. So some bright spots in the midterm election.
The squad, all of them reelected. Okay, move on.
You had to get that one off, huh?
I had to.
Westmore becomes the first Black governor of Maryland, and just the third Black governor in the entire history of the United States. Yes, I said that correctly.
That doesn't even sound right to me.
It sounds like I said something wrong, right? It sounds unbelievable. It sounds like someone's listening to this and Googling the shit right now, because it could not be possibly true.
That's me right now. I'm not even gonna lie.
The third Black governor in the history of the United States in 2022.
That's so sad.
Damn, I just got depressed and I called this a bright spot. Maxwell Alejandro Frost becomes the first Gen Z
baby
elected into the Congress.
I wonder if he's been punched in the face.
I'm a guess. I think he's yes. I'm gonna just say yes and leave the rest of the commentary out of it. I think so.
Wow, I wonder why you're assuming that. Shame on you, Damien.
He's from Orlando.
Oh no, it's because he's from Orlando.
It's rough out there.
Okay, Orlando.
What's up?
Serious hood.
There we go. Anyway, something that I don't know if you know about him, but I think you'll be glad that he's known for nationally organizing the March of Our Lives, which was a student-led demonstration in support of gun control. So that's basically his whole platform.
Yeah,
it's pretty big.
I absolutely love that. We need more politicians out there doing things like that.
Here's the other thing. A lot of Republicans are blaming the red drizzle on the Gen Z vote. And they're actually, it wouldn't be impossible for them to do, but they're actually discussing raising the voting age to 21 to block out some of the Gen Z votes. This is a real conversation they're having.
Wow. Well, Trump is blaming Melania, but yeah.
I saw that because she co-signed Oz or some shit like that, Dr. Oz.
That's another fuck. I'm glad didn't win.
Listen, can we add Trump to the it's probably not gonna be possible. We'll say add Trump to the Kanye bucket and just make that another name we never say.
Dame, we can't keep running away from the issues that Americans want to talk about. Kanye West and Donald Trump are essential to the success of this podcast. What are you talking about?
They are not essential to the success of this podcast.
The audience will let you decide.
I suppose.
Maybe we should do a poll.
Why is the goal to make voting harder? I mean, I know it's rhetorical.
Right.
I know why.
Right.
But if you're an American and you I'm proud to be an American and all of this bullshit, then you should be opposed to this, because the most American thing we can do is vote.
But I don't think that most people understand that.
I would agree with everything you're suggesting or saying. I think part of the reason why is because at almost every turn, they're losing popularity on the right, among minorities, among young people. I think the more, even the phrase woke that they keep using, bashing against us. Oh, the woke crowd, DeSantis. Oh, Florida's where woke goes to die. Like, go fuck off.
The sanctimonious.
Yeah.
You're right.
What he's saying essentially is smart and educated people. We don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want young people voting. We don't want minorities voting. So they're gonna make it difficult at every turn to try to cut off some of the segments of the population.
We now have as many registered Democrats in Florida. We have less registered Democrats in Florida than we did in 2018. How does that happen? By
Obama.
by hundreds of thousands.
Obama. I think Florida was mostly red, and then Obama came in, flipped a lot of that, and I think it's just flipped back.
No, the last Obama election was 2016.
Right, and
it grew.
Switching over.
Since then, it grew.
Right, but he was still president. I think Florida, when Donald Trump started emerging, I think that's what happened. I think a lot of
actually,
I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
As I look at these numbers, independents or minor parties was kind of growing as well. So, in 2018, we have 4,975. Just round off the rest. 4,975,000 registered Democrats. In 19, it went up to 4,986,000. In 20, it went up to 5,315,000. 2021, it dropped to 5,080,000. And 2022, it dropped to 4,966,000. In that same time frame, the minor parties went from 113,000 to 260,000. So it doesn't make up that total difference, bro.
So some went independent and some moved out of the state, and there we go.
Maybe some people were dropping because they didn't like Hillary, they wanted Bernie. Who knows?
But this is like, I could see not voting for those reasons, but this is party registration.
Right. I do think that there's been a bit of a push against Democrats in general. That does happen, especially when we elect someone like Joe Biden, or even him being in the running the way he was before he was elected. I think that does turn off some people, and they're like, I'm not messing with this party. I do think that a lot of people have left Florida because of some of the red wave here with DeSantis, and just it just seems absolutely. I've considered leaving Florida because of that blockhead.
So people move here heavily, but people don't typically move out of Florida. I don't think so anyway, but I guess that could be.
Yeah, I mean, even you got to consider the pandemic. You got to consider a lot of things.
Yeah, that's true. In the same time frame, in 2018, Republican registrations went from 4,718,000 now up to 5,229,000.
Oh, so yeah. They definitely run this state.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the mass mandate thing has a lot to do with that as well, with the pandemic. I do think that Republicans are pushing this narrative here in Florida where we don't need to wear a mask and got to get the kids back to school and all of this stuff. DeSantis a big part of that. Donald Trump a big part of that. Both of them from Florida, basically. So I think that has something to do with it. And then who's the Democrat? Charlie Crist? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who's inspired by that? Like, I've voted for him because, hey, yeah, but I wasn't like inspired by him. And then as far as Demings versus Rubio, well, she should have won just on the debate alone, but I don't even know why anybody likes Rubio. He's like, next to Ted Cruz, he's also probably the most unlikable politician out there.
And he just doesn't get anything. He doesn't do anything. He's got like one of the worst attendance records. Like, What is he there for?
I have no idea. I'm just baffled by some of the people who vote for these morons. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I think they just vote because they're Republicans and they're going to vote for a Republican no matter what.
Yeah. We need to just start. Hey, Bernie should just run as a Republican.
Oh, that would be funny.
I mean, that should probably work.
He'll spit out the same thing he talks about all the time, but instead he'll just say the liberals got it wrong, and they'll just cheer him on. He'll be anti-gun, they'll cheer him on. He'll be pro-choice, they'll cheer him on. All he's got to do is just say the liberals are stupid. The woke left. That's all he's got to say. The woke left, and they're gonna get all excited.
What are you drinking? Because I know it's early over there. I'm calling you out.
Damn, what's your beverage of choice? Sounds good.
Man, so to button up this midterm red ripple, had some 5 states in the year 2022 voting to essentially abolish slavery still exists in their states. I didn't say that incorrectly. Again, that was one of those things I said correct. Slavery and involuntary servitude is legal in this country as a form of punishment. So Alabama, Oregon, Tennessee, and Vermont decided to remove that from their state constitution. Louisiana also voted on a similar measure, and it did not pass in Louisiana. So slavery and involuntary servitude as a punishment will remain in Louisiana. I think it's easy to say, oh my God, what's going on? But I don't think the situation in Louisiana is clear cut. I don't believe that they just wanted to keep slavery. There was a lot of trickery in the wording of the legislation, and even the proposal to correct the wording was as tricky. They didn't really have a choice other than to just leave things as they were for now, in my view.
What do they have a choice?
Yeah.
So in the legislation.
By the way, I feel that if Louisiana had a choice, they would have slaves if they could.
Well, then it has to be supported to even make it on the ballot, right? It has to gain a certain amount of support for it to even be something for them to vote on. So I think people don't want it to be there. Mm-hmm. Or else it wouldn't, because no one's forcing them to vote on this, right? So it was something someone raised and got enough support to get it on the ballot.
But apparently some people still want it on there.
Well, the person who proposed it, I wish I was better with names, but I didn't even put it in my notes. The person who proposed it, I believe, was a Democrat, and then realized the wording in it was more detrimental than helpful. Then he opposed it
because they want to have prisoners forced to work in that state. Is that why?
No, because it would have allowed for more of that to happen had this continued. So basically what it came down to, the proposal to fix the wording was to remove. Let me back up a little bit. The current law states that slavery and involuntary servitude are prohibited except in the latter case as punishment for a crime. So those words are specific. The proposal would have removed the phrase except in the latter case as punishment for crime. Removing the word latter from the existing law means then that the involuntary servitude would remain. which essentially is the same thing as slavery. So it would not have undone anything, fixing it or not fixing it.
So why not just change the wording altogether?
Because even that has to get passed and has to get.
And what would be the problem with that happening?
The process, the process that has to go through. So they're saying basically scrap it. We're just going to wash it this time, leave it as it is, and then we're going to come back and fix this shit.
You know, it just, none of it makes sense to me. I don't think it's that big of a deal to just say, hey, we abolish slavery in any form.
None of these things are ever written that way. Like, you have to have.
But Dane, what are we talking about here? We're not talking about something that doesn't mean anything. I get it at this point now. A lot of people believe it's more of a symbolic thing than it is an actual thing. But still,
no, it's an actual thing.
Well, I mean, having slaves as we visualize it or think about it isn't what it is in this current day and age. But just the fact that it's still on the book somewhere, it just doesn't make sense.
No, I agree 100%. But I think the picture's being painted that the people of Louisiana are not supporting removing it and are wanting to keep it. And it doesn't appear to me that is the case. It's just a matter of the actual wording in the legislation.
I doubt that people are worried about the wording. I think
but the wording matters, because if they had supported this, it would have given prisons more leeway to continue on or to spread what they're doing.
So here's my thing. This reminds me a little bit. Remember a couple of years ago where Rand Paul came out and said that he was opposed to certain things of the Civil Rights Act. Do you guys remember that? Certain aspects of it. So he wanted to remove the portion of it where they ban where businesses can discriminate. So he didn't like the idea that businesses were banned from discriminating based on race. So, like, for instance, if you have a business, he thinks that the government shouldn't be forcing that business to not allow for discrimination. So if, let's say, you own a hardware store and a Black person comes in, he feels like they should be able to say, we don't allow Black people in here. His justification for that was that let the marketplace dictate if that business should go out of business or not based on their shit policies. But in turn, he wanted to kind of open that up and say, hey, the government shouldn't get involved in stopping discrimination in a business. So this is where we talk about government and regulation and what's overstepping. And I think for this conversation, it should just be pretty cut and dry, like no slavery.
I think there should be a law against writing laws in this manner. I think there should be a law that laws should be written in plain language.
Exactly. Instead of pussyfooting around it with all these little formalities and all these little weird things that they do to keep these things on, in the law.
In this situation, as the way I understand it anyway, it seemed like neither one of the options were good options, or they didn't have anything really to pick from. Like, when my son was a kid, when he got around like 5 or 6 years old, he just all of a sudden wanted to be super independent. He wanted to pick out his clothes. That, like, he was adamant about picking out the clothes he was going to wear to school, but he really hadn't mastered the art of matching yet. And so I would pick out 2 outfits, lay him on the bed, and say, go ahead, pick out what you want to wear. So I'm giving him, he's really not making a choice.
Yeah, it's a false choice.
Right. So that's kind of my analogy for what was going on here in Louisiana. They need to start all over again.
Even with the Rand Paul situation, right? He's trying to make it about the Constitution, but we know what that essentially means for a lot of people. Even Rand Paul's quote says it all. I don't like the idea of telling private business owners I abhor racism. He doesn't like the idea that the government would be interfering with them being able to discriminate. Now, I think he's backtracked on some of that. Obviously, there was a lot of pushback, but Senator, Kentucky, kind of falls in line with what we're talking about.
Getting out of this midterm red ripple, I kind of enjoy saying that.
Red period dots.
Spotting, the red spotting.
Red spotting, the Republican spotting.
Over this last week, man, we talked a lot about Kyrie's mishaps.
Wait a minute. So it just is full circle now, right? So New York is the vagina of the earth. But if you go a little bit south, there's some red spotting from Republicans. Okay, let's move on.
Last week, we talked quite a bit about Kyrie Irving and his mishaps, and some of the punishment he was facing, and where we stood on that. But it's gone a little further than some of the things we discussed last week. He's, I don't think he's a bad person. I think he fucked up. I think he made a mistake. And when you make mistakes, there's prices to pay. I didn't have an issue with the apology. I didn't have an issue with the training. I didn't have an issue with meeting with, Jewish leaders. I think all of that's important, and he'll probably learn from those interactions. But it didn't stop there. He was required to pay $500,000 required to donate $500,000, which I think is ridiculous. And then now Nike has pretty much gone as far as to say, not only will his 8 shoe not come out, they're pretty much cutting ties with him.
So we got to separate those things, though. When Nike's decision, that had nothing to do with what the Brooklyn Nets decided to impose on him.
No, I understand that.
Right. So those are two separate issues.
Well, let me finish tying it up. So while he's losing all of this money, which I think is an excessive punishment, Amazon is making money off of the same thing, hands over fists.
And I know we don't want to talk about he who should not be named, but Kanye West hasn't been punished, to pay anything. He's been losing deals, but he.
Hold on, I don't even want to go there.
I'm just saying, this all started because of him, but he hasn't had to pay anything.
No, it's two separate.
This one having to pay.
It's two separate issues. Two separate issues. Since Kyrie posted what he posted, Amazon raised the price on renting this movie and purchasing this movie, doubling the price.
Damn. Can I?
Where's the outrage?
Can I jump in here? I'm so disgusted with this. Oh my God. All right. These are all
it's the same movie. If he was wrong for sharing this movie, which I agree he was, maybe the entire movie wasn't entire documentary wasn't anti-Semitic, but if it included anti-Semitic things in it, then it's anti-Semitic.
All right, wait a minute. So first of all, Amazon and the NBA, last time I checked, were two completely separate organizations.
So what?
Am I incorrect on that?
That has nothing to do with what I'm saying.
It has everything to do with what I'm saying.
I asked, where is the outrage?
how are you saying that there's no outrage when you apparently are outraged? There are people complaining about it. I've seen it all over social media. There is an outrage, but what Amazon decides to do as a distributor has nothing to do with how the NBA or the Brooklyn Nets have punished Kyrie Irving or Nike. This is a false equivalency. This has nothing to do with nothing.
So you don't think forcing him to donate $500,000 is excessive?
Whether I think it's excessive or not, or whether he's losing his contract with Nike or not, that's what they decided to punish him. He's still a millionaire last time I checked. Let one of us go to our place of employment and do what he did, and not just with the anti-Semitic stuff, but just in general, all the things that he's done. And if you think that doesn't play a factor,
you can't lump all of the other incidences.
Yes, you can, because it's a proven behavior that he's purposely appearing to sabotage his employment with that team.
But that's the
we
NBA's
know that's
fault
what the
because,
motivation is.
But that's the NBA's fault because they chose not to punish those instances before. So you can't lump them together.
I think what Damon is saying is that there's outrage with people, with the public, and he's having to do something. So where's the outrage with Amazon promoting and actually now doubling the fees? Why isn't it being, said to be removed? People will say, I don't want him to play, or I don't want to support Nike because of what he did, but why is Amazon not being punished?
Well, because it's simple. It's a different entity altogether. Now, if you said, here's the thing, it's not like there's a huge demand for that film, but now because of Kyrie Irving, it's definitely become more sought out. So Amazon,
it's the number one seller in Amazon religious category.
Right. So now Amazon is doing what companies do, and they're capitalizing on that. That has nothing to do with how the NBA or the Brooklyn Nets or Nike decides to discipline Kyrie Irving.
But that's not what I said.
Well, what's the point of bringing it up if that's not what you said?
The reason why the NBA decided to take the steps that they did was because
technically it was just the Brooklyn Nets, but go ahead. Yeah.
And NBA was clearly involved.
Okay. For argument's sake, let's just move on. So what's the reason?
Because of what they perceived the outrage would be. Okay,
because they are their own organization, separate from Amazon. Clearly. So what they do in response to one of their employees, which Kyrie Irving is an entirely different conversation than whether Amazon decides to be shitty and sell the movie. It doesn't matter what the public outrage is. I'm sure the same people.
It does matter. Everything. All of this is done this way because of the public outrage.
I'm sure the same people who are upset with the idea that Kyrie Irving pushed this out are also upset with the fact that Amazon continues to make money off of it. Because I know I am. But I'm going to separate the two because they are two different companies and we are talking about two different things.
The media doesn't cover it the same way. People aren't talking about it the same way.
Of course, people are talking about it the same way.
Not to the same degree.
Well, because Kyrie Irving has a complete history, which I was saying earlier, of not playing, doing things to push the teams to not have him play. If you're a sports fan and you don't give a shit about Amazon, you don't give a shit about anti-Semitism or religion or any of that stuff, you just want to watch your game. You pay for tickets to see Kyrie Irving play, and he comes out and he makes the statements and he doesn't play, or he comes out and he goes to birthday parties and he doesn't play. He comes out against the vaccine and he doesn't play. And this is just a long history of that.
That has gone unpunished by the Nets and the NBA. So that's their own undoing. That's their own doing. You can't bundle that shit all together.
Not arguing that point. My point is he has such of a history that every time he does something or says something, like the person we're not supposed to mention, and another person that nobody wants to talk about either, and a whole bunch of other fucking assholes who've been out here doing some dumbass shit to get themselves, because really the publicity to get deplatformed is probably worth it to some of them. And this is what Kyrie Irving is doing. So the idea that there's no outrage with Amazon, I could give a shit. You know what? There are Nazi books out there, right? You can go and you can order books about slavery and pro-slavery and all kind of horrible shit. The what is it? The Alchemist cookbook or whatever. You can still buy that shit. Like you can buy horrible things online as far as like reading material and stuff or buy books. Okay, Amazon is a fucking warehouse. They distribute shit. Some shit is bad and some shit is good for everyone. That's a different conversation than, where's the outrage with Amazon? Like there's an outrage for Kyrie Irving.
This whole thing started with Kyrie tweeting it and it being considered him promoting an anti-Semitic documentary.
Yeah, he was.
So how is a business that is selling it not doing the same thing and then doubling their fees on it? Clearly, that's what they're doing.
They are. Clearly, that's what they're doing. But
so how is one wrong and one's not wrong?
Nobody said that. But why is
he's
it
not
being
saying
compared?
that they're both? He's not saying that one is wrong and one is right.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they're both wrong, but it's a separate issue from what's happening with Kyrie. The suggestion is that Kyrie is getting more shit because he's Black. That's what the suggestion is when you say that. And I don't know if that's true. I'm not saying that's what you're suggesting or Damien. I'm saying I've heard that narrative.
The only thing that I assumed was that he's getting the brunt and not Jeff Bezos, not because of the skin color, it's just because Bezos is more powerful.
That there's some truth in that. I would agree that there's some truth in that. But I also agree that if we compiled all the abhorrent shit that Amazon sells, I'm sure there'd be a lot more controversy if people understood and knew it. But it doesn't matter because really at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what people bitch about or complain about. What matters is where the money hits.
But if you're saying that doesn't matter, then what the fuck Kyrie Irving tweets doesn't matter either.
It matters because the NBA or the Brooklyn Nets don't want to be associated or affiliated with their star saying shit like that. Same thing with Nike. Nike turns around and says, you know what? That's unacceptable. We're not fucking with that. Nike is a shoe company. They're not Amazon. They're a shoe company. And they have people representing their products, Kyrie Irving. So they're within their rights to say, we sell our shoes to Jewish people and Black people and Hispanic people and Asian people. We don't want that kind of shit being represented with our brand. Now it's up to Amazon separately to be able to do that as well. If they can't, that's on them. And that's when people and the media should focus on that as well. But to compare it with Kyrie Irving, I think it's
I looked up Amazon's rules as to what they can and cannot sell. What is sellable on their platform and what is not. And this violates their own rules.
Okay. So that also destroys the narrative that Jews control everything.
I didn't even.
No, I didn't say you did. I'm just saying that is a narrative that is out there, right? If Jews controlled everything, then that book would have just been gone and that movie would have been gone from Amazon ages ago. It took Kyrie Irving to resurface it. And maybe now that's a good conversation to have and say, hey, should Amazon carry this, let alone try to profit off of it? Yeah, I would agree. That's a conversation. But to compare the two, what's the point of that?
I'm not comparing the actions. I'm comparing the response or lack of response to the actions.
I don't know if it's a lack of response. I think people are responding. I think the
Bro,
conversation
it is not. It's not. It was on every news channel. It was I couldn't scroll my timeline without seeing Kyrie Irving and something about this damn movie.
Dame, how many TV shows and how many podcasts are dedicated towards the life and times of Amazon? Nobody. But we have a whole entire network about sports. So when a sports figure comes out and says something, every sports outlet is talking about it. Every podcast is talking about it, and it's newsworthy. Amazon selling a shitty book and a movie. Shows. No, but I'm just saying, of course you heard it everywhere because of who Kyrie Irving is.
But see, I listen, I'm not I'm far from a dumb person. As soon as I heard about this,
I didn't need that,
I really don't even know
yeah.
why. Because I was about to say I'm pretty smart is what I was about to say, and then I didn't want to sound like I was, tooting my own horn, so I said I'm far from. Anyway,
it's a lot of thought into that, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
That happened all in that split second. As soon as this whole shit started, my first thought was, but then where can you see it at? So
I'm sorry, where can you see what at? Oh, the movie.
The documentary. Right. Like if it's so horrible and it's anti-Semitic, where is this found? Like, is it on some dark web somewhere? No, it's on Amazon. You can't, nothing you said makes me understand how that is allowable.
I didn't say, I'm not making a defense that it should be allowable.
I'm not saying you said it should be allowable, but what I'm saying is that at this point in this discussion, where it's 2 weeks now, 3 weeks we've been in this shit.
Damn.
No one journalist has said, well, where is everybody getting it from?
You started this conversation talking about how you felt the NBA or the Nets excessive punishment, right? Yes. And Nike. And then you segued into talking about this book being sold on Amazon. So I'm only responding to that comparison. And now if it was a side off or a one-off thing you just wanted to also mention, okay, I'll give you that. They should be getting a lot of heat for that. But that's not really where comparing the two things, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I think the only thing it does is it fuels a conversation that we really shouldn't be having.
But it does make sense because everybody is in an uproar because of a tweet. And that tweet cost him what will probably be millions of dollars.
Okay.
At the same time, the source of where everyone can go see the documentary that was tweeted is also making money off of the same thing.
Okay.
No, it's not okay.
That's not what I said. I didn't say that's okay.
I know.
Okay. Okay.
But it's not okay.
Still has nothing to do with anything. Kyrie Irving's, you could argue whether you think that it's excessive or not, his punishment.
How do you tell somebody they have to donate $500,000? That's crazy.
The NBA does that all the time. Every single time that there's some crazy shit with their players. Look, here's my thing. If he had a history of okay, go ahead.
Because I'm talking about this specific. Listen, I'm no fan of Kyrie. I love him on the court. Off the court, you'll never ever hear me talk about him. I don't agree with most of the shit he says. I'm just not a fan of him. I love him on the court. So this is not me at his defense. But in my view, whether I like a person or not doesn't matter. Whether how they're being treated is right or wrong.
All right.
I still think it's excessive.
Let's put it in a context here. Kyrie Irving, when he signed with the Brooklyn Nets, and listen to this, Patricia, he signed a 4-year deal for $136 million. $136 million to play for 4 years. He said something pretty damaging. $500,000 is a drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the bucket. Now, the Nike problem, that's going to cost him a lot more for sure. But Nike has that right to say, we're not fucking with you no more. The Brooklyn Nets didn't can his season and boycott him. They suspended him for 5 games and they gave him a list of stipulations. Now, people get fined all the time.
This is not a fine. It's not a fine.
They're forcing him to make amends with whatever. Fine. Who cares? We're sitting here and we're debating.
It sounds like a fine.
It's a fine. It's essentially a fine.
Here's the thing is, I think by all accounts, he's not anti-Semitic. He made a mistake. When you make a mistake, you get corrective action. You get corrective training.
Mm-hmm.
You sit down and you learn how your mistake impacts people. I'm cool with all of that.
We're not talking about intention here. If you're speeding and you're going over the speed limit and you're not intending to go over the speed limit, it doesn't matter. You went over the speed limit and you're going to get pulled up. No, it doesn't matter. Intent doesn't matter when it comes to these things. I would agree that his intention wasn't to, spark the end of the world. That he's not some anti-Semitic Jew-hating person or whatever. I would agree that I don't think that's what he is. But I would also say that he made a mistake and they're asking him to pay for it. And it's not because of this one mistake. It's because he has a history of it.
That's still not okay. Because they had opportunities to punish him for his other mishaps when they happened.
So now they're trying to fix it by actually punishing him, and now we don't punish him. Like,
you can't. No, I didn't say he shouldn't be punished. I'm saying he was punished excessively.
I don't think we should be making Kyrie Irving the victim here.
How are we making him the victim?
He's being victimized by fans because he has to pay $500,000 and he has to apologize and like boo-hoo, like man the fuck up. Like you made a mistake, do what you got to do and do it. He don't even have to do anything. He just sends his people off to do it. Say, hey, yeah, take care of this. Write the fucking statement, put the money in the fucking bank or wherever they're going to put it and move on. He doesn't have to do shit. And then after his suspension is up, he goes back and he plays basketball. What are we asking him to do? Nobody's asking him to crawl on his knees and beg for forgiveness. And he's agreed to a lot of the stuff that they've asked of him.
Because most of it is agreeable. I think when you force someone to donate, I don't care. I'm not into counting people's pockets. I don't care how much money he has. $500,000 is $500,000.
It's a tax cut. It's a tax break.
I don't think you should be forced to donate anything to any organization.
That's an opinion, and I respect the opinion. I just don't think comparing him to Amazon and saying how excessive it is, I don't think it's excessive. I think I see
where Damien is coming from. Like it's supposed to be so bad that he shared this to the point that he's having to do all of these steps because it's such a bad thing to do. So why not also say, you know what, Amazon needs to pull the movie, the documentary, whatever it is.
You know what it is, and people don't realize this, but it's a loss of profit for the NBA and Brooklyn.
Or why isn't someone saying these profits that Jeff Bezos or Amazon is making, they should be donated to whatever organization?
They should, but they're the people who created that media, they're going to get paid for that. That's part of whatever deal they have with Amazon as far as distribution is concerned. My thinking is with Kyrie Irving, anytime you have, there are certain jobs that can find you and will find you when you make a certain amount of money and you do certain things and you violate certain aspects of the job. Kyrie Irving, this is a profit loss for the New Jersey Nets and the NBA. Every game he doesn't play and every controversy he stirs up is potentially a lost customer. And they're within their rights to say, we are going to punish you for that. You should know better for that.
So they're getting their money back.
Well, no, they're suspending him without pay, but how many ticket sales and jersey sales do they lose because Kyrie Irving isn't playing? He is a bona fide superstar.
Yeah.
So they do lose money.
I mean, we know
they lose money. Every time he don't play, they lose money. And he's had a lot of instances where he's just not fucking playing.
But that has nothing to do with this.
You don't think as an organization, after you've given this guy chance after chance and the benefit of the doubt over and over and over, you don't think that after doing this, they're like, nah, we've had it.
He's not missing games because of this. He's missing games because they told him to sit down.
He's missing games
because of this.
because of Dame. Any person with half a brain would have to know that if you come out and do certain things, and they didn't even suspend him for posting the video, They suspended him for his refusal to show any sort of apology or remorse during a press conference interview. They didn't even suspend him for the tweet. So, like, he's had chance after chance after chance. If you're an organization and you know that a lot of your revenue comes from certain groups of people, what are you going to do? Are you just going to sit back and you're just going to let one of your employees just shit on a whole demographic? No, like, that's not how that would
you're
ever
going to
work.
meet with him and you're going to say, look, what you did offends a large group of people. And whether you intended that to be the case or not, you need to apologize for it. And then
then he told him, fuck you. No,
and then I think you need some training. So we're going to have you attend some training courses.
Mhm.
And then just so you're clear on the impact of what your action was on a certain community, we'd like you to meet with some of their leaders and have a conversation with them. I don't have a problem with any of that. Like, because that's something that would happen. That's something that would happen in the workplace. If you did something offensive to someone, you might have to take a training course in whatever was related to that. That's normal.
Your beef is more along the lines of the revenue part, the money.
That's where I think it begins to get excessive. Yes.
So are you separating what Nike has decided, or are you including Nike in that criticism?
I think that's a continuation.
So you think Nike is just piling on?
Yes.
But they're their own organization.
I understand that.
So then you don't really have a problem with Amazon distributing it. You just have a problem that, because again, we're talking about revenue and money here, Amazon should be able to make their money, right?
No.
That's you're kind of contradicting yourself.
I'm not contradicting myself.
On one hand,
per Amazon, your store must not contain content that promotes hate, incites violence, or intolerance, or advocates or discriminates against a protected group, whether based on race, color, national origin, religion, disability, sex, sexual orientation, disability, age, or another category.
And you're telling me that Nike doesn't have a similar policy on their books when it comes to their employees?
But that's not what he did.
No, that is, look, when I worked, and I'm not going to say the organization I work for, but I work for a very high-powered firm, worldwide accounting firm. I couldn't go on social media and even talk remotely bad about any organization or company. I couldn't do it. I couldn't talk out of terms about race or religion. I couldn't generalize anything. That was in my contract as an employee. So there's no way that Kyrie Irving signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Nike and multi-million-dollar deal with the NBA and the Brooklyn Nets, and there was no terms like that anywhere. I can guarantee it.
If that was the case, then they would have just cut him immediately instead of suspending him.
No, there's certainly
well, they cannot cut him because they've given so much money to it. That's why they did not suspend him originally. They're giving him all this chance and he's just doing whatever the hell he wants.
No, he did everything that he was asked to do.
No, he did not apologize how they first asked him to do.
Right. And then because of that, Nike said, we're going to suspend him temporarily. Well, we're suspending our relationship with him. And then he got his shit together. He made the apology. He denounced the film, and he's doing whatever he's been asked to do.
As he should.
Okay. And then Nike came back and said, you know what? We're not going to go down that road again.
I don't blame them.
Okay.
I mean, he sounds problematic for many reasons.
He's made them millions of dollars. It can't be that problematic.
Yeah, but Nike was a huge thing before Kyrie Irving was squirted out of his dad's penis. Like, Nike has been a thing for ages. Like, let's not even kid ourselves. Nike does fine without Kyrie Irving.
I don't know.
What? You don't know?
Yeah, I don't know.
They'll be fine.
I mean, I'm not saying that be closing the fucking doors, but I think he brought them a lot of business.
I'm sure he's brought him some business. You don't pay somebody that kind of money if they're not bringing you business. But
exactly.
But you know what you do? You just replace him with the next NBA star coming up, and that's it. That's it. With the John Morants, Luka Doncic, and the Zion Williams, and hundreds of other players that we're going to see in the next few years, Kyrie Irving, he's just another name.
I don't think it's going to be that simple. I think a lot of these players might not even fuck with Nike because of this.
I seriously doubt that.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
if they're offering multi-million-dollar deals, they're just gonna shut up and just play and just
if
play
Nike offers me $100 million, I can go to Adidas and say this is what Nike got on the table.
Dame, okay. So most people look at Kyrie Irving and they don't think that they would be repeating those kind of steps. If it was something where Nike was being unreasonable, right?
You don't think this is unreasonable?
No, I don't think it's unreasonable for an organization to cut ties with someone who doesn't represent their ideals. I don't think that's unreasonable at all.
He didn't do anything that if he said something or he had a continuous history of actions that were opposed to a certain group of people that was discriminatory, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
He tweeted something that contained this information that he wasn't clear on.
I again, it's their right.
Damien, but that's not the point. Is that he did interviews and he did not want to apologize. He did not want to say, I'm sorry that I offended. He just kept saying, I didn't mean to, or I that's not what I meant to do, but you did it. And he was backtracking. He just was standing his ground.
No, because what he was saying is a lot of people believe that blacks were the original Hebrews. And so what he was saying is, if I know where I come from, I can't be anti-Semitic. So he was just
repeating what the other one was saying. I mean,
no, he's been on that. That's not something new to him.
But Dame, it's one thing to regurgitate a talking point to address something else somebody has.
I'm not saying it was the appropriate thing to say, but this is where, for me, intent matters.
Intent does not matter.
Intent matters.
Well, then, okay, if intent does matter, then his intention was not to apologize.
Yeah.
If you don't see how what you did was wrong or say was wrong, would you apologize at that point?
Again, and I made the analogy in the last video, right? If I accidentally step on someone's shoe, I didn't intend to do it, I'm gonna apologize.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, no.
If you don't realize what you did was offensive.
He could have, no, he realizes it. I'm not playing this stupid role with people where I'm listening to the dumb shit that's coming out of their mouth and giving them some benefit of the doubt that they don't understand. Kyrie Irving, did he not go to college? You know, is he not a well-spoken individual? He's not a moron. He knows what's going on here. He went to Duke, right?
Oh.
So, like, give me a break. Like, this isn't a dumb guy.
At the end of the day, it's clear, or there's something to be said about this connection between Kyrie and Amazon and the outrage and the lack of, and I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that we have a different set of opinion on that, but yeah, we could leave it there. What about you, Patricia? Any final thoughts on that?
I am kind of like Damien. I'm kind of both ways.
Wow.
I can go both ways. No, I agree with some of the things that you're saying, Julian, and I definitely agree with some of the things that Damien is saying. So I'll take the best out of both.
How nice. How sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Glad we were able to wrap that up with a kumbaya.
And speaking of kumbaya, I had a conversation with my daughter. And that's what we're talking about next.
You guys were holding hands and singing?
No, we weren't. But it's always a good time when I hang around with her.
That's dope.
So we had this conversation, and topic came up about makeup, right? And I just want some thoughts on this. So is it ethical, if that's the right word?
Ethical
Is it
and makeup. Okay, let's go.
right? If let's say you know someone who's really skilled at doing makeup, to the point where they don't really look like themselves, and they go on a first date, and is that like the right thing to do? Is to go on a date under false, like maybe your profile picture looks a lot different, or maybe that girl gets home and washes her face and she's just not the same person.
Not only is that unethical, immoral, that shit should be against the fucking law. That shit should not. That's not okay.
Come on.
That's not okay.
That's not okay to wear makeup the way you want to.
No, stop it. Stop it. To the point where you present yourself as someone as you're not. See, you're introducing yourself under.
Wait. Hold up a minute. Girls do it with makeup. Guys do it with personality. I don't know. Whenever you meet someone the first time, you're not meeting that person. You're meeting their representative. So if they want to put, makeup on, or if they want to look totally different, it's on them. Patricia, you can do whatever you want.
I've known you for a long time. I've known you for a long time. I've seen you
Be careful with what you say.
Oh shit! I've seen you with makeup and without makeup. That was.
And I look the same.
You're the same person. Like I don't. It's not like when I see you with makeup, I'm like, well, who the fuck are you? Like I can. You're you. There's no problem with that. My problem is when you look like someone else, and you carry this on for however long we're dating, and then one day I finally wake up next to you and I have no idea who the fuck you are. That's a problem. Should be outlawed.
Like that episode of Fresh Prince, when she's like popping her nails, her eyelashes, her wig.
Exactly. Listen, do what you want. Just be upfront. Like if
listen, but how far does that go? So in the scenario that we were talking about with my daughter was, someone would put on their makeup and they would put artificial freckles, and
that's perfectly fine.
Right. And the person who she was dating didn't realize that was fake.
Oh, I don't have a problem with that.
Until later on, and this person was offended. Now, obviously, we're taking the conversation a little bit more extreme, but my question to you, Patricia, and you, Damien, is how far is too far? And in your case, Patricia, is there any limits to this? So, Patricia, you go first. I want to hear what you think.
So, I'm a believer that you can do whatever you want to do with your body, with makeup, with implants, with liposuction, fillers, Botox, whatever. You do whatever you want to do. I don't think. Listen, there's somebody out there, some guy that got plastic surgery to look Asian. If you want to go look Asian, go look Asian. I don't care. I don't, you can tell. Listen, me as a person, if you have eyes that work, you're going to know when somebody's wearing too much makeup, when their eyebrows are not real, when their eyelashes are not real, when the ass is not real, when the boobs are not real. You're going to know. So, and if you don't know, then I don't know, but you should be able to do whatever you want.
But how about if you don't know? And I guess this is the point of the conversation. And then
how do you not know?
Then, well, guys aren't as astute about makeup as women are.
Wait. But there are some women who are incredibly skilled. Like I've seen women where I see them in one light, and then when I see them without the makeup, I'm like, this is a joke, right? Like, you're not the same person that I knew. Same thing, like
you aren't the same person that you knew. You're just being superficial.
That's what I mean. On a superficial level, that's what I'm talking about. because it does matter, right? Like we're talking here like attraction. So that does have a place. I'm not saying it's
Right.
all that should matter, but
the only thing that I would have a problem, and when it becomes, and I don't even think this should be against the law either, but the one thing that I do have a problem and it becomes ethical is if you are a man and you are going off as a woman and you're not disclosing that information.
So the transgender thing, I've had this conversation too. And I think
that should be disclosed.
I will agree that certain things should definitely be disclosed, including diseases, and I know that's a totally different conversation, but I do think if you're entering a sexual relationship with someone, you should at the very least know what you're getting. That's a different conversation entirely.
Let me piggyback off of what Patricia said. Yes, I agree 1000%. You should be able to do with your body what you should be able to do with your body as you choose, and that includes your makeup. However, if you are presenting yourself to be or in a way that is not you, then that should be discussed.
So how far is too far for you, Damien?
What do you mean?
So like, let's say the girl has the ability to put on her makeup and she kind of looks like Rihanna, but then when she takes off her makeup, she kind of looks like Nancy Pelosi.
That's too far for me. That's too far. You're not
going to be attracted to the artistry?
No. I probably would be so.
If you listen, if you want to go with that analogy, then you're using prosthetics in your face to go from Rihanna to Nancy.
No, I see this person who can make himself look like Michael Jackson, like exactly. And he doesn't look like Michael Jackson, like normally. Like some people have these, you've never seen these makeup tutorials or these videos where they totally transform themselves.
To Nancy Pelosi, but that's what I'm saying.
That's not even a stretch, Patricia.
Listen, if you're standing in front of this person, do you know what amount of makeup and contouring you would have to have on your face? You're gonna know that person is taking
that's the part you're not taking into consideration. Most guys contouring. What are you even talking about? Like we don't know.
You can
we don't
tell
know what the fuck contouring is. We just know, and it even may look like you have heavy makeup on. That doesn't mean. I've seen plenty of people where I'm like, damn, that makeup is thick. It doesn't cross your mind like they may look like a completely different person underneath there. That's different.
Listen, I have a solution for guys. Listen up. When you meet a girl, why are you laughing, Damien? When you meet a girl,
because I know you.
When you meet a girl and you like this person, just go have a date, take her to a nice restaurant, end up in a shower, tell her you want to shampoo her hair, and put some water on her face.
The best way, I guess, we live in Florida. Damien and I, we're not in a dating scene anymore. But if we were, I'm taking that girl to the beach, and we're going in the water.
Yeah, I guess that would be.
That's that. So now I'm gonna throw out another question, kind of related to this. So I was watching, and this came up in my conversation with my daughter. This video where you can buy these sneakers that add 2 to 3 inches to your height.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So a lot of guys who, you might be 5'8", 5'9", puts you to that 6-foot mark, and you seem to be a lot more attractive when you do that. Would you consider that to be unethical or kind of shady?
We wear stripper shoes that makes us 10 inches taller. No,
but women will look at men, and the taller they are usually they feel like they're more attractive. Where men, we don't really give a shit. In fact, I think high heels is silly because I don't know. It doesn't do nothing for me. Some guys love it, but I don't care. But I'm just saying, like, it's more of a thing to see a taller man than it is a woman. So you think this man you've been dating all this time or seeing is 6'2", turns out his real name is Stanley and he's 5'9". Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, 5'9" is still a great height.
okay, all right. So you think it's fine then?
I think
Go to
it's
the beach.
fine.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle here. I agree, like with
You're in the middle again every episode.
Man, in the middle of what, Damien? Okay, so you're in the middle. So what do you think?
Like, yes, like Patricia said, women wear heels, but I think that can also be misleading as well. Like, for an example,
Listen, nowadays we get, even with men now, but nowadays guys do not know who they get for a girlfriend because everything is done. Eyebrows are laminated, you have eyelash extensions, fillers, Botox, threading to make you look like your eyebrow is lifted. You don't have a double chin. You have a thread coming through here. Your breasts are done. You have a tan. You have a fake tan. You have extensions. Your nails are done. You're bleaching your butt. There's so many things that you don't know what you get. Yeah, that's
and
a
then you have unrecognizable children.
Yeah, right. It's like, that's not your kid.
Yeah.
Who does this kid look like?
It really, like, the way you just broke it down, it's really crazy. Like, that's right.
Look at Kylie Jenner, she's a perfect example. I know you guys know who Kylie Jenner is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, she transformed her entire body.
Yeah, I mean, look at Nicki
Minaj.
If you see Nicki Minaj, young pictures of her, or even when she first came out, she don't look like that now. I don't think she's made much of an improvement, but she looks different. Did I say something offensive to?
I'm not gonna go this loud.
You're gonna have
let's just stick with the makeup
You're
topic.
gonna have the beehives.
Yeah,
hey,
you don't want to fuck with the beehive, bro.
Whatever.
I'm sorry. Wait, no. The beehive is for the other
Beyonce.
one.
Oh, that's Beyonce.
Beyonce.
Yeah.
The Barbies.
The other ones. The Barbies.
Barbs.
Yeah. Whatever. Go get you
Do
a
you guys think
Ken doll.
Beyonce's overrated?
I do not.
What about you, Damien?
No. Overrated how?
I'm supposed to be I'm supposed to be the hater here, not you, Patricia. But
no,
I'm
I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater of Beyonce. I like her music. I don't think she's what the queen and what these people make her out to be.
I think the love for Beyonce is past her singing.
It's her performance.
Right. Because if we were just rating her singing, then there are much better singers than her. But she's still a phenomenal singer. But she's more of a everything else. She does so many things incredibly well.
She checks off a lot of boxes.
That's my feeling on her.
Okay,
but
I see that I podcast with what is the Beehive people.
I wouldn't even say I'm part of the Beehive, but
I am not part of the Beehive.
Is she overrated? Absolutely not.
I think she is, but that's just me.
Well, her husband is looks like a camel, and speaking of that, let's go into Nas, because Nas said that in Ether, and that's a perfect segue, don't you think?
I guess it was pretty good.
So this music section, we're gonna be just talking about Nas and his new album, King's
because
Disease 3.
Nobody else is even worthy of mentioning within the same breath of this fucking album.
So I believe it or not, and I was just saying this to Dame, hip hop is my favorite music genre, of course. I'm an MC, I'm a producer. I'm very passionate about the culture. I'm very old school, from the Bronx. Like, it means something to me more so than I think it just means to the average person nowadays. Just the culture is really important to me, and the origins of the culture and the artists behind that. But because of some of that, I've become sort of as Damien would describe, as a hater of not even just newer prolific hater. Not even just the newer MCs, but even just new music in general from hip hop. And I would admit that most of it doesn't move me. I haven't had an album move me in years. Usually I listen to them, it's a one and done, and I'm like, yeah, it's either okay or not, like whatever. And I like Nas. King Disease 1 was okay. I love to the point where I listened to it a couple of times. But King's Disease 3, it's the first hip hop album in years. I'm talking maybe 15 years. I was about to say
probably decades.
Yeah, that's done anything for me. I've already, since it came out, within the first 24 hours, I heard it like 8 times. So
Wow.
I love it. I love everything about it. I love his maturity. I love that it doesn't have corny features, and it doesn't have auto-tune, and it doesn't have, silly songs about, falling in love with girls and auto-tune.
It's like Drake.
Yeah.
Drake.
Just like that. Drake. Yeah.
Drake.
It's not any of that. It's just dope beats. Him and Hit Boy have an incredible chemistry, and I can just ramble all day about it. So I'm going to just leave it there. Dame, you heard it. What do you think? I just think it's an incredible album, and Nas really represented the way I wanted to see him do.
Whenever anyone talks about Nas, it's 2 things they always say. Dope lyricist, one of the best, probably the best, and he picks the worst fucking beats. They can't say that shit anymore. This whole album is fire. From front to end, there's no skips. Every beat, every verse, every bar, it's all saying something. He squeezes one in at the end of the year. This has got to be album of the year, and he did it right on the tail of Drake dropping his album. So I love it. I love the timing of it. I love it. I haven't gotten through it 8 times. I'm through it once. I can't wait to sit with it, because in a Nas album, you're not getting everything on the first listen. There's shit that went over my head, I'm sure. But
yeah,
everyone's talking about that one bar.
on Thun with Jay-Z, right?
Right. That, oh my God, that alone just sets the tone for the whole album.
Yeah, because just the idea that he can take an old beef with someone who's arguably the largest figure in hip hop music, and
he's the GOAT,
still joke about it. He's not the GOAT. Jay-Z is not the GOAT. I think Nas is the GOAT, actually, but whatever. But the fact that he can still talk about it and do it in a manner where that the both of them, they're tight, but there's still something there that they both acknowledge, and he can put it out there. I thought it was amazing.
Just for the context of what we're talking about, the bar says, "No beef or rivals. They playing ether on Tidal. Brothers can do anything when they decide to. In a Range Rover dissecting bars from the takeover. Sometimes I text Hova like, this ain't over."
So Ether is a song that Nas does Jay-Z on, and The Takeover is a song that Jay-Z does Nas on.
And Tidal is the streaming platform that Jay-Z owns.
So Tidal still plays Ether, which totally would have destroyed anyone else, because it was one of the greatest diss tracks ever, and so was The Takeover. So they went at it really hard years back, and now it's different. It's great. I love it.
I love it all.
You guys
So,
may wanna listen.
Anyone else who dropped at the same time, I'm sorry. You should have picked another day, another week,
another year. Yeah, Patricia, check it out. It's called King's Disease 3. And if you guys haven't heard it, as soon as you're done with this, get on it.
In the world of hip hop, we had 2 casualties this week as well. We lost Hurricane Gloria, known as Hurricane G, New Yorican legend, first lady of the Hit Squad.
Yep.
I
used to listen to her with Keith Murray all the time. Hearing her in the mixtapes, and yeah, I couldn't get enough. She was great, underrated for sure.
Yeah. 52 years old, stage 4 cancer. And then yeah, it's pretty sad. That's young. It's really young. Tame One, 1/3 of the Artifacts, a legendary rap group out of Newark, New Jersey. Also 52 years of age. And at this point, all we know is heart failure. The cause of the heart failure isn't known at this point. But rest in peace, 2 legends in hip hop.
Definitely, and probably the best era, both of them. So yeah, that is it. That is a wrap.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but you've never heard a tree grow. So just keep your head down, keep going, keep grinding. You don't need to talk about it. You don't need to tell everyone, because you've never heard a tree grow. You've only just seen it blossom. Hope that doesn't go over your head. Peace.
Does that tree grow on the Earth's vagina?
I have so much to
wonder.
say about this growing tree.
Y'all not gonna let me get one off at all, huh?
Get what off?
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to episode 5 of the Clearly Distorted podcast.
Like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe.
Distorted.
It was a pleasure, as always.
Definitely a pleasure. Dame, Patricia, love this conversation.
That was a good one. Very distorted.
Good weekend, guys, or have a good week.
Yes.
Peace. Patricia, your background is like